The next task on the list for the BMW rebuild is to replace the wheel bearings. On the BMW, that's not as straightforward as taking the old ones out and putting new ones in. We have to set the bearing preload. I've never done this before, so we're going to figure out how to do this together. I'm going to follow two tutorials. One is from the Boxer 2 channel and the other one is from Brooks Ahead Garage. I'm going to put you both down below in the description so you can check them out. I'm going to start with the rear wheel because on the one hand it seems easier to me, but I also already noticed that I have an issue with the front wheel. So I want to push that off for a little while, but we'll get to that in just a second. Let's first figure out this one. Step one is to take the cover off right here. Now the great thing about the BMW wheels is that once that cap is off, we can leave everything else together and then use the axle to push it out in one stack. However, my problem is that I had a little miscommunication with the painter and I got the whole axle Cerakoted. And unfortunately now those don't fit anymore. I thought Cerakote would be very, very thin and it would actually still work, but it doesn't. So that was quite an expensive mistake because now I have a new pair of axles. Let's see if those do the job. We push the axle in from this side and then we need some type of spacer that goes on here. I cut these 5 pieces out of the middle part of an aluminum handlebar and I squared the faces off on my friend's lathe because it's very important that they are parallel. And then we put the washer on and the nut. Now I quickly put the axle in the vise so I can tighten this nut. And if you want to do this yourself, the combined length of the spacers that I'm using right now is 95 millimeters. The inside diameter of the spacers has to be bigger than the 17 millimeters of the axle, and the outside diameter doesn't really matter as long as the material is sturdy enough. All right, so I think that's tight enough. Now we have to heat that up and then hopefully everything comes out as easily as it sounds. All right, we're at 70, that should be enough. So let's see how easy those come out. There we go. That was easy enough. Nice. There's a shim in the spacer that determines the wheel bearing preload, so that's the deciding factor for what comes next. There's also like a rubber band or seal in there, which I haven't seen in the tutorials, so I need to figure out what that is. I've got all the components clean, so now it's time to reassemble everything, but without any grease, so we can check for the bearing preload. We're going to start with this sleeve right here, then one bearing right out of the package like this. Next up we have the outer sleeve that goes on like that. And on the inner sleeve, the rubber band that keeps it centered, that goes on the inside. Next up, we have the shim that came out of the package, so that goes in. And then the last bearing, like this. Now we reinstall the spacers. And then lastly, the washer and the nut. So now we tighten this. And in the manual, it states 45 Newton meters, but I can already feel that this is way too tight. The bearings don't spin anymore and the spacer also doesn't move in between, which you are supposed to be able to move it with moderate pressure. So since this is too tight, that means that we need a smaller spacer. Okay, stop. This is me from the future and we need to stop right here because I had my thoughts absolutely twisted. Here's how it actually works. I made a quick drawing to visualize it a little bit better. The middle part is what we find when we take everything apart. We have the sleeve like this, then we have the shim on that side, then we have the 2 outer races and the 2 inner races. And if the new setup with this shim is too loose, then we need to increase the pressure. So we need to bring the 2 inner races further together, which means that we need to make the shim a little bit smaller. So then these 2 press harder against the outer races and that creates more friction. But if this setup is too tight, then we need a bigger shim to bring the 2 inner races further apart so that they have more play within the outer races. So a smaller shim creates more pressure and a bigger shim creates less pressure. So that means that for the rear axle, we definitely need a bigger shim because it didn't have enough play. Now, if you're wondering how much of a bigger or smaller shim you actually need, then we can refer to this book from Helmut Häuser, which is also often called the Airhead Bible. And he says that you normally need just 1 increment bigger or smaller, which means 0.05 millimeters. We'll have to see if that actually works for these wheels, but just keep this concept in mind because I only realized after I ordered the new shim. So when we now check the front axle, I'm still making the same mistake. On this side, I already have the seal and the bearing out because the Cerakoted axle got stuck and I had to hammer it out, and it took those two pieces with it. There's a sleeve in there as well, so let me see if I can get that out first. Okay, nice. So let's clean this up a bit and give the hub some heat. For the outer bearing race, I fortunately recently invested in a Kukro bearing puller set, which is exactly the right tool for this job. And this is how easy you can get the outer bearing races out if you have the right tool. Unfortunately, these pullers aren't very cheap, but it was one of the best investments that I've done recently. Onto the other side. All right, now we're going to do the same steps on this side, clean it a bit, heat the hub up, and then extract the outer bearing race. There we go. Nice, second one out. These have quite a lot of scarring on the sides. That probably happened when someone else changed the wheel bearings and they didn't heat the hub up enough and then just extracted the outer bearing race. Unfortunately, nothing I can change. So let's go ahead and check the bearing preload with the shim that was already in there. To check the preload, I first need to install the new outer bearing races. They're in the freezer, so I'm going to heat up the hub and then hopefully we can just drop them in there. All right, I did heat up the hub for quite some time now. I've got the first bearing race out of the freezer. That's at 0 degrees and the hub is at 80. So that should work. Let's try to put this in there. I have to make sure that that sits straight in the hub. There we go. Oh, it fell right in. No way. I hope that stays in there once the hub cools down and the race actually warms up. Let's flip this over. I think I have a little problem because look at this. The hub is cold and the bearing race moves all over the place. So I did some research and there are different options of how you can solve this. Either you get a completely new hub. I don't want to do that. You could also have a machine shop make this a little bit wider and then put a sleeve in, but that's also very complicated. And then there's a third option, which is the easiest, and that is to use Loctite 638, I think it's called, and that is glue that is specifically designed for these applications. It's basically like the Loctite you put on threads, but for bearing races and things like that. I just ordered that, and once that's here, we're going to try that out. I'm not sure if I can test the bearing preload with this floppy outer bearing race, but I'm going to try anyways, because I really need to order the shims so that they can arrive and that we can put everything back together. So I'm just going to give this a try and see. If we get completely random values, then I need to wait until this is glued in. But let's give it a shot. We have the axle, then the spacer, the first bearing. Those go in from the right. Then we have the sleeve that sits in the middle, the shim, and then the other bearing. And then again, we need a spacer that goes on here so we can actually tighten the nut. But for this wheel, I 3D printed a spacer because I want to see if I can actually tighten the nut properly without the spacer breaking. And if yes, then this will be a great solution for anyone who doesn't have access to a lathe to just print a spacer. It gets 35 Newton meters. So let's see if the spacer can take that. Nice. Hey, that's perfect. Now I need to find a way to secure the hub so that I can spin the axle and get the value. Nice, that should work. I'm going to use some string and some tape and secure the string to the spacer. On the other side of that string, I'm going to attach this digital scale, and then following the calculations from the Brooks Ahead Garage tutorial, I need to get somewhere between 1010 and 1550 grams. So let's see if that works out. Okay, so that was 700 grams. So that one is definitely too loose, but the method works, which is nice. All right, the glue for the bearing race just arrived, and I got a package from Ulis Motorradladen where I get all of the spare parts for the BMW. And in this one, we have 4 new shims, and I hope that those are the right size. But first, let's glue in the race, and then we can work with a properly secured outer race. It is a little bit more sticky now that it's properly cold. I'm gonna heat up the hub a little bit, and then hopefully that slides in nicely, but also isn't too hot for the glue. Now I'm going to apply a light and even coat all around the bearing, and then I heard you have to work quickly. And then we need to clean the rest up. Now I'm definitely going to check tomorrow if that actually stays in place. So for now, I would say we move on to the rear axle, and hopefully we can set the proper bearing preload with the new shims. And then once that is a little bit tacked up, we can go ahead and do the same for the front one. Fortunately, the shims that I found on the bike are almost exactly the same size. So I hope that I can basically just switch the new ones and use the ones that I actually ordered for the rear axle, for the front, and the other way around. So we're just going to use the 2 bigger ones that I ordered and test those on the rear axle right here. So old shim goes out, and then I'm gonna test the next bigger size. And I unfortunately only read the part in the book after I ordered these, so I skipped the first increment and went straight to the second largest, so from 6.55 to 6.65 now. But let's see how that works. Sometimes you just have so many things in your head and you do 3 things at the same time, and then these things happen. That might actually be okay. Let's see, we need to tighten this. This is still too tight. Okay, so we might actually have a chance here. I have 6.75 as the next one because, as I said, I didn't really know how big of a step you actually need. And I'm happy that I didn't go in 0.05 millimeter increments, because it can always take a little bit off with some sandpaper. All right, let's see, 6.75 now. This might be nice if that would work, because adding material is obviously a different story. Yes, we're getting somewhere, but this is still too tight. It turns, but you can't press the sleeve from left to right. So that means that we need an even bigger one for the rear axle. The problem is that I don't really have time to wait for another 3-4 days until they arrive. And in addition to that, they are actually not very cheap. One of those is €7 plus shipping. So if you have to order 5, 6, 7 until you get the right one, it actually gets quite pricey. So what I decided to do, I called my good friend Nikhil and asked him if I could use his lathe. So I'm going to go there later today and hopefully get this task finally finished. But first, let's figure out the front wheel, because I might need to adjust those shims as well. I'm going to exchange this shim, which was 6.58, to the next smaller one, which is 6.45. So 2 increments and a little bit. And then we can see how that's going. I think that's too tight, but we're still going to test it. So let's see which value we get. That was 3.25 kilograms. I'm going to double check. So that is way too much. That's twice as much as we need. So let's go to Nikhil's place. Fortunately, we were able to turn the exact spaces that we needed. The one for the rear wheel ended up being 6.88 millimeters, so quite a lot bigger than the 6.55 millimeters that we found in the rear wheel. The front wheel was a little bit more confusing to me because at first we had a reading that was too light, so I thought we needed a smaller shim to increase the pressure, and that was at 6.58 millimeters of the shim. And then when I came back here, I just remeasured this one and I noticed that this is actually not parallel at all. I get measurements from 6.36 to 6.57 all around. And that's something I picked up yesterday from Nico. He always measured in different places around the spacer to check if it's actually parallel. And this one, which I took out of the front wheel, definitely wasn't. So that might be one of the reasons why it was a little bit confusing. But in the end, I ended up with a shim that is 6.9 millimeters thick, so quite a lot thicker than the one that was in here. But yeah, this one gives me a reading of 1.4 kilograms, and I did that a few times because obviously this string method isn't the most reliable one. BMW has a special tool to measure the torque that you need to spin the bearing basically, and that needs to be between 0.15 to 0.3 Newton meters, so very, very fine measurements. Obviously something I don't have, so the string method is the only thing that I can really test it with. And if you do it a few times, you can get an average and you just kind of like get a feel for it. So 1.4 kilograms is right at the top end of our range. So I'm happy to install those now. So let's continue with the rear wheel and put all of the parts in there because you can put them all in at once, which I find actually quite exciting, so let's see if it works. The first step to installing everything is to grease the wheel bearings, and for that I'm using Liqui-Moly LM50. This is a high temperature grease and that is perfect for this application. For packing the bearings you want to have quite a lot of grease in the palm of your hand, and then you take the bearing and just work it in from the bottom, squeezing that in there until you can actually see it come back out at the top. Now everything can go back together. Now that's ready to install, let's heat up the hub and then see if we can get this in one piece. Okay, we are at 60, we want to get to somewhere between 80 and 100 degrees, so we're going to use the blowtorch for the rest. Let's see how easily this goes in now. There we go, that was very easy. Now if you're wondering which side of the wheel goes up and down, the side of the brake has a little lip on the bottom, so that one is the one that goes down, and then you push from the closed side all the way through, and then basically once this cools down it's all nice in place. That's a very cool way to install new wheel bearings. The next thing that we have to install are new seals. On this side goes the bigger spacer, a new paper seal goes on here, and then I can bolt those two pieces back together. And that's the rear wheel done. Now let's quickly do the same with the front wheel. Alright, and as the wheels done, I'm definitely happy that I got this tedious task ticked off the list. I would say it's definitely doable at home if you have to do it at some point, but it's helpful to have a friend with a lathe. So thanks again, Nico, for always helping me out. This definitely made the task a lot easier and a lot quicker. And even though it doesn't look like it, we're definitely making progress with the rebuild because the components are coming together, and hopefully at some point it's just basically putting all of the components back on the bike. So if you enjoyed this one and you want to watch another video of the rebuild series, then I'm going to link you one right there. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.